Quarantine orders are created in the Inventory Management module. They're found underneath the Periodic folder and then Quality Management and then Quarantine orders. You'll click the new icon to create a new quarantine order. A quarantine order number is generated automatically based on the number sequence that's defined in the Inventory and Warehouse Management parameters. Then you'll want to select the item number. After you select the item number, you'll want to choose the site and warehouse where the items are currently being stored. I'll check the On Hand tab here to see which warehouse this item is currently in. I'll choose Warehouse 11 for this particular example. If the item you are using is location controlled, it's important that you also select the location. You'll notice that the quarantine warehouse was automatically filled in. Again, if the item is location controlled, you'll also want to select the location within the quarantine warehouse where the items will be placed once you start the order. The transfer journal that is created behind the scenes will automatically transfer the items out of Warehouse 11 and into Warehouse 11Q. In the quantity field, you'll type the amount that is going to be placed on hand in the quarantine warehouse. For this example, I'll set the quantity to 10. You can see that the status here is created. I'll go ahead and start the quarantine order. On the Start screen, you can see the details, and you can optionally update the date that the quarantine items will be placed into the quarantine warehouse. I'll just click OK to select the defaults. Now that I have started the quarantine order, you'll notice that the Start button is disabled and the status is updated to Started. You'll also notice that the Report is finished and End buttons are now available. When you're working with the quarantine order, you can use several buttons to update the information. For example, you can click Functions and then split the quarantine order. So let's say these 10 items were inspected and 8 of them were okay, but 2 of them need to be scrapped. I could use the split function to split them out into 2 quarantine orders, one for 8 and one for a quantity of 2. Then I could use the scrap function to scrap a portion of them. When a quarantine order is created for a return order, you'll also have another option available called Replacement Item. The Replacement Item button allows you to send a replacement item to the customer for the item that you are currently placing into quarantine. You can also use the Inquiries button to view any related quality orders. The Inventory button at the top allows you to drill down into the transactions and on-hand information. You can also perform a reservation, a registration, or a pick from here. If no changes need to be made and the quarantine order does not need to be split or scrapped, you can go ahead and report it as finished. When you report it as finished, a new journal is created to transfer the items back out of the quarantine warehouse and into the original default warehouse. You can update the quantity as well. So if you wanted to partially report them as finished, this might be useful, for example, if the inspection process takes a long time. Once you click OK, the items will be moved back and the status is updated to reported as finished. You'll also notice that the Report as Finished button is grayed out. The final step in the process is to end the production order. If you do not end the production order, it will remain out here in an open status. So I'll go ahead and click End and click OK to confirm the update. Now you can see the status is ended and all of the buttons are disabled. At this point, you can only inquire upon the transaction that was created. You can watch the following demonstration to see how quarantine orders can be automatically generated.